Hello and welcome to your News at Noon right here on Kaieteur Radio, kindly sponsored by Amaland Milk. Before we get to the top stories that we're tracking, let's get to the front page comment brought to you by Kaieteur News. Why is the APNU AFC silent on the carting of our oil blocks? The APNU and AFC are adding little value to Guyana's politics. To the disgust of many, they are focused too much on power and too little on the country's progress. While the country's riches are being carted off, many parliamentary opposition is not raising a word of objection. In this instance, the main opposition parties are no different from the ruling PPPC. Why are APNU and AFC at one with the PPPC in saying nothing about the plundering of our oil and the disappearance of oil blocks into unknown private hands? What are the real roles of the APNU and AFC in this national disaster? Why do they have nothing to say or refuse to be critical of their main adversaries' handling of these issues? We have to ask whether they are in bed with or on the same pages as the PPPC when it comes to the disappearance of the Kanji and Kaieteur blocks and the review of the Payaro Field Development Plan. We agree that the pandemic, the budget, and the appointment of office holders on the regional democratic councils are important. However, what can be more important than ensuring that our country gets a better deal for its oil wealth? The APNU AFC can all serve Guyanese better if they are hawk-eyed over our oil. Yet, they are curiously silent. We challenge the opposition to join with us in seeking answers about the Kanji and the Kaieteur blocks. We have been doing so every day for years now. Where are the APNU and the AFC? When are they going to advocate for greater transparency and accountability when it comes to our resources? And now for the top stories we are tracking. Kevin Smith here. $9 billion Payaro project approved for 2020, that should be 2024 startup. President Ali says no touching oil money until sweeping reforms. Health workers get candid about COVID-19 related struggles, and President Ali tells Harman accept us as a legal government before we speak. And coalition criticizes government's approach to COVID-19. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Nearer than you think. So stay alert and be aware. Be aware of your neighbors. Be aware of your friends. Be aware of the people you have in your home. Do not become complacent. Protect children now. You can make a report to the police or call the CPA hotline on 227-0979.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
And now for the news in detail. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat yesterday approved ExxonMobil's third field development in the Stabroek Block, the Payaro project. Exxon said after making its final investment decision yesterday that the Prosperity oil vessel will start production in 2024 at up to 220,000 barrels of oil per day. ExxonMobil said that 10 drill centers are planned along with up to or even years. In other news, President Dr. Irfan Ali does not intend to touch a cent from Guyana's Sovereign Wealth Fund until a series of reforms are enacted to strengthen the government's regulatory infrastructure for the oil and gas sector. These reforms include revamping the Natural Resource Fund Act, establishing a petroleum commission, and updating other legislation pertinent to the management of the oil and gas sector. The Petroleum Commission, Ali has noted, is necessary to keep the management of the oil sector away from political influence. Vice President Bharat Jagdeo said that the sector will instead be managed by the best technical minds. Meanwhile, the administration has frowned on the Natural Resource Fund implemented by the former David Granger administration, bringing questions of its legality, given that it was passed after the government fell by a vote of no confidence. In other news, with just a glimpse of the daily news from around the world, persons can easily deduce that the fight against COVID-19 has not been an easy one, especially for healthcare professionals. In fact, it has been more than exhausting for some who are continually strategizing in hopes of coming up with tactical measures that could help to advance the gains made thus far. In so doing, many health workers on the front lines, including our own Dr. Zulfikar Bucks, have been under immense pressure. He candidly revealed that the pandemic has taken a toll on most people, but no one will understand the impact it's having on health workers unless they are in their shoes. But as if the work itself was not hard enough during this pandemic, Dr. Bucks revealed that what's even worse is the awful treatment that they often receive by those around them. Get the full details of this story in today's Kaieteur News. And moving on, before any talks of inclusive governance can commence between the governing PPPC and the opposition, APNU-AFC, their leader Joseph Harmon may have to publicly rescind his utterances that the government is illegal. That was the ultimatum given by President Irfan Ali himself in response to questions on when the two major parties would have a sit-down to devise strategies meant to improve Guyana. President Ali made it clear that he is open to working with all Guyanese. However, he was quick to point out that there should be mutual respect between both parties. Let's tell you now that with the number of COVID-19 deaths climbing each day, the APNU-AFC yesterday blasted the PPPC government for its approach to combat the disease. Opposition MP docked $8,990 monthly. Meanwhile, Winston Brassington faces intense cross-examination in lawsuit over Demboise. Do stay tuned.
Enjoy Free Nights Talk with Digicel.
It's the popular Guyanese publication and its former editor-in-chief Adam Harris for the contents of the daily published satirical feature. According to the claims, Brassington is accusing the Kaieteur News of making several offensive and libelous statements in relation to his role in several state projects. As head of NISL, Brassington played an integral part in several transactions, including the controversial Amila Falls Hydro Project. During a virtual hearing of one of the matters before Justice Fidela Corbin Lincoln at the High Court yesterday, Brassington was again questioned by Kaieteur News lawyer Nigel Hughes about his interpretation of the contents of a Demboise column. Get the full details on the grilling of Brassington in today's Kaieteur News. And moving on, as the global pandemic continues to expose the economies of developing countries, there is good news for the Guyana telecom sector. A locally owned company, eNetworks Inc., has announced the launching of its 5G internet services. 5G is next-generation wireless network technology that is expected to change the way people live and work. It will be faster and able to handle more connected devices than the existing 4G LTE network, improvements that will enable a wave of new kinds of tech products. The company said that persons interested in signing up can email sales@enetworks.gy. They can also WhatsApp 624-5153 or 608-5551. They can even call 231-3890 or visit its Facebook page at eNetworksGY. In other news, the man who was last Saturday caught having sex with a COVID-19 infected female corpse inside a morgue will spend the next 3 years behind bars. 50-year-old Leroy Chakan of Trainline Port Kaituma yesterday received his sentencing from Magistrate Dillon Bess at the Matthews Ridge Magistrates Court. Chakan on Tuesday had pleaded guilty to the charge, read to him that he trespassed to commit a sexual act. It is the belief of some Port Kaituma villagers that Chakan would frequently enter the morgue to have sex with female corpses, but was only caught in the act on this occasion. In other news, a 22-year-old police constable was on Tuesday placed under close arrest after following his involvement in a car accident at 5th Street and 3rd Avenue in Bartica. According to police reports, the cop was stationed at the Bartica police station and hails from Heatburn, East Bank Berbice. Investigators reported that the constable had crashed into a hired car which failed to adhere to a stop sign. The accident reportedly took place at 21 hours 25. As a result of the impact, the driver of the hired car lost control and further crashed into a nearby culvert before it turned turtle. The driver of the hired car and his passengers were injured and trapped. Let's tell you now that the prime suspect in the 2015 murder of a crane taxi driver, 55-year-old Colin Clark, was on Monday last nabbed at Madia. The Guyana Police Force had issued a wanted bulletin back in 2018 for the wanted man, identified as Sheldon Collins Abrams of Lot 6 Supply, Mahaica. After 2 years of hunting him down, we were told that the man was found living in a shack at one of the mining areas in the Madia Region 8 district. He was arrested and later transported to Georgetown, where he is currently being grilled by detectives. Clark's partially decomposed body was found on December 3, 2015, beneath a bridge at Eidflat. It is now 12 hours 16. Coming up next is your COVID-19 update. And now for your COVID-19 update. The number of worldwide coronavirus cases, according to Worldometer, has reached 34,239,867, with deaths at 1,020,103. Recovery cases has reached 25,490,165. The Ministry of Health has confirmed that another 2 persons who tested positive for the virus have died. The new fatalities have taken the total number of local deaths from the disease to 82. The latest fatalities are that of a 61-year-old female from Demerara, Mahaica, or Region 4, and a 60-year-old man from Essequibo Islands, West Demerara, or Region 3. The Ministry of Health confirmed 48 new cases of the disease in an updated dashboard, 11 of which are in the ICU. A total of 185 persons are also in institutional isolation, 938 in home isolation, and 52 are in institutional quarantine. The number of recovered cases stands at 1,680. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony reiterated that Guyana is continuing to ramp up its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. He disclosed that the National COVID-19 Task Force is dealing with the disease at different levels, including the policy level and the health response. At the policy level, the task force examines the trends of the epidemic, the hotspot locations, and the current situation. This data is used to develop proposals on new guidelines. These proposals are then used to advise the government on the next step in managing the disease. The health response is generated at the Health Emergency Operations Center. The center equips hospitals with gear and medications so that they can treat everyone who accesses their services. The health response also encompasses testing, treatment, and surveillance. And coming from CNN, 2 of the front runners in the global race for a coronavirus vaccine are unlikely to be ready before the U.S. election on November 3rd, dashing President Donald Trump's campaign promise of delivering doses by the time of the vote. Moderna CEO Stefan Bancel said Wednesday that the company will not have enough data to file for emergency use authorization of its vaccine candidate until November 25th, weeks after Americans go to the polls. Public health experts have expressed concerns that the Trump administration is expediting the development process, undermining the safety and efficacy of a future vaccine. In Tuesday's presidential debate, Trump said he had spoken to the major vaccine makers, including Moderna, and they told him a vaccine could be available soon. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon, brought to you with the kind compliments of Amalanda Milk.
And that's the news of the moment. Remember to get the full details of these stories, pick up a copy of the Kaieteur News. And don't forget, you can catch us on the MyTuner app as well as the Radio Garden app. You can also keep up to date by liking our Facebook page at Kaieteur Radio and subscribing to our YouTube channel, Kaieteur Radio Livestream. Oh, also catch our stream at www.kaieteurnewsonline.com/radio. Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on